Hello everyone! You are on the Ramos channel. Here you can find the true passion for the number one game, so if you love football with all your heart, don't think too long and give us a subscribe. Here we are going to discuss everything you've been concerned about. Each transfer window, Paris Saint-Germain gives fans a reason for discussions. We are constantly hearing, will Messi leave for PSG? What about Ronaldo? They took Ramos. You can go nuts with the news in which the vice champion of France appears. But how did they come to this? The fact of the Qatari sheikhs overspending money is quite understandable. Businessmen from the East are investing billions in the game of football, and the project of the World Cup, which starts next fall, is the prime example of it. The question here is different. How have they not violated the rules of financial fair play? Or FFP doesn't work at all? Then how come smaller clubs are getting bans? And why the French are keen on buying famous footballers? Sounds interesting, doesn't it? Then quickly give a like to this video, subscribe to the channel, and in the next few minutes we will answer the mentioned questions. Now we are to say vamos and begin. Let's get going! What is financial fair play? These were originally financial management rules that would narrow the gap between rich and poor clubs. UEFA just wanted to become a football Robin Hood, but did they succeed? Let's take a look at a set of ground rules. Firstly, the owner of a wealthy club can cover more than the amount of 30 million of expenses from his own pocket. Secondly, infrastructure costs are not counted, and the stadium renovation will not give UEFA a reason to impose a fine if the rest of the bookkeeping is alright. Thirdly, if the club has financial debts, UEFA is not gonna shoot from the hip. The dynamics will be thoroughly assessed, and if the monetary indicators for the allotted period of the time are positive, the club will remain in the European Cups. Did it actually work in practice? There was a line from the Pirates of the Caribbean about the Pirate Code. The code is more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules. The same is the case with financial fair play. Clubs don't care at all about UEFA laws. The amount of transfers have increased, so have the salaries of the players. But how do they achieve that? There are many different approaches, and we will briefly analyze them. Arsenal built a residential complex on the site of the legendary Highbury. Real began construction of an entertainment and recreational complex in the Emirates, and Turkish Trabzonspor built a hydropower plant. Such initiatives are there to generate income and keep clubs afloat at the expense of non-football projects. Chelsea chose a different path. The project of Roman Abramovich is thriving due to installments for football players. Londoners paid 50 million to Liverpool for tourists for 5.5 years. Now do you understand how Chelsea have all the chances to take Holland? Yeah, that's what we are talking about. But how are PSG and Manchester City doing, given their constant multi-million-dollar purchases? They don't really care at all. True wealth is measured in friendships. This phrase perfectly describes their method. PSG has long sponsored the Qatari National Bank, which pays the club 100 million euros a year to display the logo on their kits. A solid amount, isn't it? And yes, it is deliberately overpriced. Some sort of connection can be found between the sponsor and the owner of the club, Nasser Al-Khelaifi, but there is nothing beyond the law. Manchester City received 400 million euros from Etihad just for the change of the name of the stadium. You got the idea? Great, let's move on. Financial fair play has been introduced since the 2011-12 season under Michel Platini. And what is the legendary Frenchman remembered for in addition to his achievements in football? Of course, for corruption scandals. By introducing fair play rules, he forced the wealthy clubs to go underground and do even more black bookkeeping. Plus, he turned a blind eye to dubious sponsorship contracts and most likely benefited from them. And did it pay off for the number one game? Yes, but only partially. Thanks to fair play, we don't see cosmic transfers for about 500 million, as the market would have been torn apart by such moves. On the other hand, we all witnessed how Neymar bought out his contract for 222 million euros. You think that everything is fair? On paper, yes, because this amount was paid to Neymar by the Qataris for the post of ambassador for the 2022 World Cup. But is this fair in relation to other clubs? And what about the incident with the possible exclusion of Man City from the Champions League? UEFA had the advantage, and how did they dispose it? Citizens' lawyers destroyed and trampled on Ceferin, undermining their authority not only towards him, but also towards the organization itself. Are you still wondering how UEFA slept through the creation of the Super League? Now do you understand the decision to cancel financial fair play is getting closer and closer? Added to this idea was the coronavirus pandemic, which destroyed financial reserves of many clubs. The players' salaries were delayed, the public purse was empty, and there were massive problems with loans. Take a look at Barcelona. We just wanna cry seeing their attempts to save Messi. Therefore, UEFA decided to replace the fair play rules with an alternative version, which is still in development. Possibly they might wanna make the rules separate for each championship. They will finally introduce a ceiling on football player salaries, and so on. However, if you think that these will prevent PSG from buying everyone, we hasten to disappoint you. So how come that PSG is becoming not only the dominant club in France, but throughout Europe? And this, it was assisted by Florentino Perez and Andrea Agnelli. We can already foresee a dumb question. How are they connected? The creation of the Super League cancelled all relations between the godfathers Agnelli, the president of Juventus, and Alexander Ceferin, the president of UEFA. Could a Slovenian lawyer have imagined that he would be thrown by his own godfather later on? No way. After Agnelli befriended Paris, Ceferin kicked him out from the European Club Association, and who do you think he put in that place instead? You guessed it, it was Nasser Al-Khelaifi. But how did this happen? There are a couple of reasons. The PSG president was one of the first to defend UEFA and said that he did not recognize the Super League. Though you need to understand that he had no other choice. It would seem that PSG is clearly the club that is interested in creating a decentralized tournament with massive earnings from TV broadcasts and fat contracts. The functionary thought more globally, because the World Cup is around the corner in his native Qatar, and he didn't need quarrels with UEFA and FIFA. Did Ceferin know about that? Perhaps yes, but he decided not to go for another candidate. Coincidence? Therefore, Massimo Pavone of Tutahuve called PSG's current dominance in Europe a rare seizure of power. There is a team that seems to be ready to raid, the PSG. The French are determined to win in Europe, and to do so, they are ready to spare no expense by beating the competition. In this session alone, the PSG has spent a figure of over 50 million euros on annual renewals, which could even approach 100 if all purchases go through. A huge outlay in the face of fair play, which is evidently no longer of interest of anyone. After all, we all know who is at the European Club Association now, and certain answers are very simple to us, concluded the journalist. Now imagine if Donnarumma still ends up at PSG. The club will spend 22.5 million euros a year just on shot stoppers. Let's add here the arrival of Hakimi, Ramos and Wijnaldum, another 35 million, plus Mbappe and Neymar earn 55 million euros a year. In total, only for these 8 players PSG will pay 112.5 million per season. Okay, Al-Khelaifi occupies not the last position in UEFA, but how can he make Ceferin turn a blind eye towards this chaos? Easily. We want to point out that the Qatari owns the beIN Media Group, which includes beIN Sports, the matches broadcasts of which are under the auspices of UEFA. The European Association has extended the TV rights contract with this company for 500 million euros. Still need a proof that Al-Khelaifi usurped the great power in Europe? As you've probably understood, PSG is unlikely to sell off its powerful roster in order to reduce costs. Icardi, Draxler, Rafinha, Paredes, they all feel good in the club and are not going to pack their bags. The same goes for Mbappe. The Parisians absolutely don't care about the fact that they needed to collect 250 to 300 million euros in order not to receive sanctions. What sanctions? Their owner easily gets a contract of 500 million, has the World Cup on his nose, which is important for FIFA and UEFA. He provided support in a dispute on the Super League, which why Ceferin and Gianni Infantino owe much to Al-Khelaifi. Subsequently, they redeem the favor the way they can. Therefore, as regrettable as it may sound for fans of many clubs, PSG's hegemony in Europe will last at least another year until the World Cup ends. We won't be surprised if UEFA suddenly begins to impose penalties on the Parisians with hindsight, as they did with Manchester City. Anyway, Al Khelaïfi will clearly have his trump card, and then an actual war in the legal field will begin. The story with Blatter and Platini may well repeat itself. What do you think? Will PSG be able to evade financial fair play violations and keep all the necessary footballers? Write about it in the comments. And also give us a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video. And on this note, we are to end the release. Ramos channel was with you. Football is our great passion. Subscribe and stay with us. Bye bye!